Honestly, if there was somebody chasing the music business, what I would tell them, and this is the honest truth, is to not do it and run the opposite direction. Very, very
It's like
fast.
me. Don't make couches, man. It's
Yeah.
nothing but heartache and pain.
But if you hear that advice from me to not do it, and your immediate thought is F that guy, then you might be right for the music business.
Let Me Save You 25 Years is the name of this podcast. I am your host, Shawn David Nelson, founder of Lovesac. It's what made me famous. But I bring you the most famous people every week, trying to just, lock down what is it behind success. And it doesn't have to be business. It can be just success in life, success as a human being, success as a parent. We break it down in much detail. And of course, I love your support. And thank you for sharing this out. Share it with a friend. I take no money for it. Any ad you hear is just the platform I'm on. It's part of the business, but I'm just trying to learn myself. So I appreciate you coming on this journey with me. Share it, like it, give it a 5-star review. Today, I got a rock star. I got a rock star on the podcast for you. Okay. Look, we're going to play a little, what's the word? Name that tune. Here we go. How many times can I break till I shatter? Over the line, can't define what I'm after. I always sing it. Turn the car around. That's right. O.A.R, guitarist, saxophonist, Jerry DePizzo's on the podcast. We're going to go deep into the music industry. I've always wondered, how does it actually work? What's it actually like? Forget like the Ariana Grandes of the world, the mega pop stars, for like a real working band, that has to keep it going, keep 4, 5, 6 people not from killing each other. For 30 years, these guys have been together. Started as an 8th grade talent show. Jerry met the co-founder of O.A.R during his freshman orientation. He's on the business side. He plays the guitar, plays the saxophone, and he makes it clear, though, you're not going to be successful without understanding the business part. In fact, the business part might even be bigger than the music part. We talk about what that's like, the evolution of music, where it's going with AI. He makes some great predictions you'll be interested to hear. What it means to be worthy of a date night, right? For any of us in the product business, even if our product's music, how can it be good enough to be worthy of a date night? How important is self-discipline when it comes to a healthy partnership? All in the spirit of today's Shawnism. Everybody needs a partner. And in my case, look, I mentor a couple of different entrepreneurs in their businesses. I invest, not a lot. I stay pretty focused on Lovesac, but look, there are those who have partners and there are those who are alone. And I can tell you that the ones that go it alone they struggle. Not necessarily as business. They might be having great success as a business, but man, it is a lonely, difficult thing to be partnerless. I encourage everybody, have a partner. I've always had a partner at Lovesac, and it's changed wildly over the years. In the early days, it was like my college friends. They just showed up. They helped me stuff sacks. Even if they weren't my official partner, they were my partners, man. And I couldn't have gotten here without them. And if you read my book, Let Me Save You 25 Years, they're all named in there at different times as they come in and out. Even today, as proud as I am of what I do and what we're building here, the truth is, the president, I'm the CEO of Lovesac. My president, Mary, she runs the company, man. She's so much smarter than I am. She was educated by the likes of Walmart and L'Oreal, had been president of BIC, and BIC, like lighters, pens, like multinational. And she's here at Lovesac as my partner because I need a partner. Everybody needs a partner. And I encourage you to understand what it takes. If you're married, then you know a bit about what it takes to have a partner. It's not a boss relationship. A partnership requires low ego. A partnership requires honesty. A partnership requires capitulation, negotiation. Sometimes we stand our ground, and more often we meet in the middle. But we break it down with Jerry on this podcast, particularly through the lens of the music industry, which is especially unique. I mean, band dynamics, you could write 10 volumes on that. And I've had a little taste of it myself. I got to be in some bands back in my day. So I think you're going to enjoy this conversation with Jerry DePizzo of O.A.R. If you're a child of the 90s, a child of the 2000s, you know their music. They're going on tour this summer. Don't miss them. I'll be out there, hopefully, Red Rocks on June 20th, but they'll be everywhere across the United States all summer long, even I think from June to November. So catch OAR live out there on the road. Catch OAR now on the pod. Check it out. Today's guest is someone whose guitar has soundtracked road trips, college nights, more than a few questionable life decisions, a founding member of OAR. By the way, maybe even more famous for the saxophone in that band. He's like a man of many talents, but they're one of these rare bands that has actually stayed together for nearly 3 decades, selling out arenas, filling amphitheaters, proving that longevity in music is about trust and chemistry and just showing up again and again. From college bars to Madison Square Garden, he's lived the grind, the glory, and everything in between, and still standing, still playing. Please welcome to the pod the legendary Jerry DePizzo.
Shawn, thank you for having me. Appreciate it very much. Hell of an intro. That might be the name of my autobiography at some point. Still standing. How about that? I like that.
You and me both, man. Like I feel you. In fact, I think our careers are roughly on the same timeline. I made the first Love Sack in 1995,
and the first O.A.R. album was in 1996. So not too bad. Yeah.
Yeah, man, you were the sound. You were, part of the soundtrack, at least, of my entire college experience. So I totally, it's totally an honor to have you. So look, without even thinking too hard, when you heard our topic, everybody needs a partner. What's the first thing that came to mind for you?
It made me smile because I've probably verbalized that, maybe not specifically in those words, but in a sentiment very much like that, so many times in my life. I mean, I'm in a band. I've been in a band for 30 years. We're experts at partnerships. I think, been married for 2+ decades as well, and I certainly lean on my wife often throughout my life. But, I think what OAR has done a great job at is tenaciously chase our dream and our vision and our goal, work very hard at that, care very deeply about that, but then also just surround ourselves with great talent and great partnerships. And it has been one of the vital keys to our success is just the folks who we surround ourselves with.
Yeah, well said. I mean, I think that's a foundational principle for life. For anyone listening, surrounding yourself with talented and honest and good people is a skill that will never serve you wrong. And so it's a great call out right out of the gate. I'm curious. I recently heard, so I've been thinking about this. So first of all, you wouldn't know this, but made the first sack 1995. At that time, I was just out of high school. I was 18 years old, and waiting to go to college that fall. It was kind of like a boring summer day. I just had this dumb idea. Meanwhile, I'm a musician actually as well. Am I played keys my whole life, sang my whole life. I finally put it together in those years, 18, 19, 20, into my 20s. And what started as kind of like a three-piece jazz trio very quickly evolved into a cover band. And we were playing bars and nightclubs and weddings and parties for like 15 years. And so I know a little bit, just a little taste of what it's like to work in a band, but nothing like at the scale that you've done. But I recently heard the head of Smashing Pumpkins talking about, he's talking about something completely different, but he smiled and said, it's a whole band dynamics thing. And so I'm really interested to kind of dig in on that. You brought it up as a member of a band and as one that's actually stuck together and been wildly successful. Um, what light can you shed for people that are on the outside looking in on the uniqueness of band dynamics as a partnership? Because it's a very different animal than the typical like business partnership.
Pretty, oh yeah, 100%. I always say, like, I'm married to a couple dudes and my wife, and it's like there is a lot of parallels, not completely, but like the a lot of the emotional investment, and when it comes to the respect and that you need to show in a relationship, and get from it, the input and the feedback that you get from a relationship that really needs to be present there. And I think, for us, just a really great understanding of the sum of the parts are far greater than any one individual piece of it. Um, the boys were together in high school. They grew up in the same neighborhoods. O.A.R. was a band from the basement. You were either in that band, like you were, Shawn, or you knew somebody that was, and you went to see them go play at house parties and bars and everything in between. O.A.R. was that band, and played in high school together. For the first show, really, for the band, the first iteration was the 8th grade talent show. So the boys have been together for quite a while, playing music together.
That's cool.
They made the first album, The Wanderer, while in high school together, in Rockville, Maryland, and they set off to go to college. And it was something that felt great for them. They were realizing a dream of theirs, and they wanted to continue on. They were seeing some success for it. People were showing up, kids were showing up, their friends were supporting them and things. And so everybody decided to go to Ohio State. And I met Mark, our singer, at freshman orientation, prior to freshman year, fall semester. And we met each other at orientation. We ended up running around High Street and campus that night together and things, just having a good old time, and then lived in the dorm together and met up. And we really started to cut our teeth at Ohio State. And then from that, we were always very deeply involved in all aspects of the business. We had Mark's brother Dave was a vital and central, talk about a partnership, a vital essential role early on, and getting standardizing and operating the business aspect of the band and things. And as time has gone on and progressed, really what is, I think, allowed us to thrive is not only do we create something both in music and an experience that people connect with, and puts pennies in the jar, not only for ourselves, but for the music business machine as a whole.
Hmm.
But we also treat this band as a small business that it is. I mean, O.A.R. is a small business, just like any plumbing company or HVAC company or insurance company or whatever it might be. O.A.R. is that. We need to be the absolute best in the world at giving people O.A.R. And through that, we operate a small business. And so some of us are way more in charge of creative stuff and handle that direction. Some of us are way more in charge of and involved in operating the day-to-day aspects of the business and everything in between. So for us, I think knowing our roles, executing those roles, but then staying in those lanes and not trying to, you can't have 5 lead singers and you sure as hell can't have 5 saxophone players in a band. So everybody needs to contribute their element to it, their perspective, their talents and expertise in their own way and in their own lane. And through that, you get this, delicious tasting cocktail that is OAR.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I think it's a great perspective. I think it's easy to, in a sea of music videos and social media clips and, pop star gossip, it's easy to get lost in so many different aspects of music and culture and art. But at the same time, there's a business behind all of it. Even the most, I don't know, let's call it ridiculously artistic artists, like Lady Gaga trying to like shock and awe with like her latest outfit or like scheme or who knows what. It's just a massive business behind it all. And in your case, as you describe it, a small business behind it all. And I know why you're saying that, right? Because it may not be billions, but it's
a small business that does big business.
By the way, Lovesack is technically, we're doing 700 million a year, technically a small business. Still.
Yeah.
Like we're a micro cap public company. So but the overarching music industry is $1 billion machine, and you're a part of all of that. And so I think it's fun to pull back the curtain a little bit, give people a peek into that, because it's easy to forget that guys like you have to run a good business. And regardless of how good your art is, or you're going to be out of business. And so, what more can you tell us about that? Because the average person doesn't know your world, so for instance, let's talk about you. You're a member of this band. You play the sax, you play the guitar as well, which is amazing. What's your role in all that? You said some are more on the creative side, some are more on the business side, and then you have your different roles. Tell us about that. I think it's fun to dig in.
Yeah. What OAR does, what we do well ourselves, we do tickets, tunes, and t-shirts. That's what OAR does, really. Anything outside of that, we got to bring some folks in to help us out, do those things. What I do is really try to help operate the day-to-day aspects of the small business of what it is to be OAR. So, we have our central hub is our website, liveoar.com. That is for all things OAR, visit liveoar.com. That's kind of our saying there. But from that, it's, that's the central hub of information, but then also our central hub for commerce as well. So on the t-shirts part of that, and on the tunes part of it as well, and even the tickets, all of it really that's the central hub. So what I really want to try to do as much as I humanly possibly can is one-to-one control the relationship between the audience member and the artist, and own our data, have it all flow through Live OAR, control all the SMS and newsletter messaging and things like that. Obviously, the marketing and the socials and things, we handle that. We have a plan for those things, but we basically, Monday morning starts on, calls with the team that is the e-com and the site-based things. That's early in the morning. Midday, we're talking tour, and by the end of the day on Monday, I've got our management team on the phone after they've been on calls all day, catching up and getting ready for the week to figure out what we're going to do for the next week and the next tour and things. So what I really try to do is come up early in the year of a calendar of things that we need to promote and celebrate, and work daily and vigorously to make sure that we do those things. On the touring side of things, it's routing a tour and booking a tour is one of those great wild mysteries, I think, in music.
Really?
That is a brutal, thankless job for booking agents and things.
Why is that? Why is that?
So OAR wants to do 40 dates throughout a summer in 2026. So we're probably going to start routing that, we'll say, Q1, definitely Q2 of 2025. And so is everybody else in the music business. And everybody's pretty much fighting for all of the same venues. And so you have a first hold or a second hold or a third hold in all these different places that you want. And then you put together this whole routing that makes sense. And then you look at it, and the Goo Goo Dolls and Dave Matthews Band and Matchbox 20 are all going to be in town in that same in Utah within 2 weeks of that show. Well, hell, I got to move all that around. I can't have that because it's going to suck too much, going to suck tickets out of the market. So that's a very challenging job that I'm glad does not rest on my shoulders, though I appreciate the input that I get to put into it. But
whose shoulders does that rest on? I think this is a cool inside peek. You got to realize, like, to you, this is like everyday business. I think to the average person, look, I'm even a little bit, I've been on the fringes of it, right? I've played music live, but like, this is all.
Yeah. I can like zoom out a little bit more. So you have the band, you have the artist, and the artist needs plugged into the machine that is the music business. So you need to put music out, you need to sell concert tickets, you need to book shows and everything in between there. So the central spoke of this artist's team is going to be their manager, and their manager is going to handle all the day-to-day operations and take in all of the input from all the different facets of the music business. From that, you're also going to have an agent, and your agent is going to handle your bookings for concerts, private events, things like that. If you get into film and TV and things of that nature as well, they can handle those things. Legal, definitely need a lawyer. So you got a lawyer that's you're on the phone with all the time, and then you have an accountant, business manager that helps you, dot I's, cross T's, pays taxes, and ensures that we don't go broke. And then from all of that, each one of those guys really has a different role in things and putting it all together. And then, through that, the manager really is the one-to-one communication with the artists. And then the artist will communicate with all those folks, as well. And through that, you have PR teams like 2 PM Sharp, who's with us now and everything as well. So all those folks work together in tandem to create an artist's career. Record label, that's another one there. So yeah, record label, booking manager, PR, legal, accounting, manager.
That's crazy. So look, I apologize for making you break it down like this on a podcast, but at the point I want to make to anyone listening is it can be really, listen, even me. In fact, I was once asked, if you weren't doing Lovesac, what would it be? And I really thought hard about it. And it kind of surprised the person when I said, I would be playing live music. Like, I miss it. So I finally had to like give it up. I did it the whole time I was ever doing it. I did it while I was building Lovesac, because I had been doing that since I was 18. So it was always like a side hustle of a side hustle for me to be like playing this weekend at a bar or, whatever. But I did it because I love it so much. I love music. I love being on stage, but it's small potatoes. These are local stuff. But my point is that music is attractive to so many people. To get a shot at doing it sustainably, professionally, it's just worth realizing that, heaven forbid you become, international pop star, the Michael Jackson flavor. You got to build it like a business, just as you described. And I think it's really important to realize, because it's so easy to just imagine the archetype of like running off and becoming a rock star if you could somehow do it. But just like my business, it's a daily grind. It's a lot of work. Do you find that the business of it, is it more business than music or more music than business? How would you articulate that?
Wildly more business than music. Wild.
Yeah.
But that's what's necessary, at least in our instance, in my instance, to make it successful.
Yeah.
I'm sure some folks written a song and boom, it's gone to the moon, and what that type of success generates allows a little bit of calm and time and the ability to make thoughtful choices. We've had a good deal of commercial success in that range, or not a like a runaway international pop star smash like that. So we've had to be a little bit more smart and savvy, I think, and just hustle more in order to make it go. And yeah, it's wildly more business. There's so many times where, one time in particular, we had a vinyl release for Christmas, for a holiday. And it's vitally important to me that if we say it's going to be under the tree for Christmas, that it ends up under the tree for Christmas. And we had, for us, a couple hundred orders. And the manufacturer was behind and wasn't going to make the shipping deadline for this. And I was like, where are you? They're like, we're in Minneapolis. I was like, it takes 12 hours for me to get to Minneapolis. I will see you in 12 and a half hours. And I drove to Minneapolis, 12 and a half hours. I picked up the merchandise. I picked up the vinyl. I shoved it in my minivan. And I turned around and I drove it back to Columbus. So I drove basically a 25-hour drive in 28 hours. Had to take a little bit of gas and a nap, and got it there, but it got under the tree. And I've probably done that or something crazy like that a dozen or two times in our career in order to make the gears turn.
I love that.
And so have you,
Well, so let me share. Let me, just for listeners, this is such a poignant point. That's why I appreciate you humoring me, and because it's easy to, not hide, but it's easy to hide behind the rock star.
Oh, everybody sees the good
image,
rock and roll.
Yeah, but I want people
on TV, like that's the sexy stuff.
Well, same with me. I'm a CEO of a public company. Well, I mean, it's another version in some people's eyes of like a rock star lifestyle. But the truth is, just like you, we had our factory. This is early on in the day, sack factory down in Mexico. The way that it was set up, the workers couldn't work beyond like the 19th of December. And same thing. Like, there were going to be a lot of people in Denver left without sacks because of the way the shipments worked out. And so it was me and my partners, the theme of today's episode, right? Everybody needs a partner, and everyone from the office went down and we just worked the factory in Tijuana, Mexico, worked the equipment, stuffed sacks for like 2-3 days. But then when it came time to get them out to Denver, a bunch of people had different things. My key partners, speaking of partners, they were married at that time. I wasn't. So I said, hey, I'll drive it. I'll spend Christmas in wherever I end up. Mm-hmm. No big deal. And I, drove a truckload across 3 states and storms and the whole mess to get it to Denver, to have a Merry Christmas. And so it's no different, is my point. The genre is different. Like, I make, at the time, foam-filled sacks, you make music, but what's required to keep the wheels on that bus, to keep people happy, to have a Merry Christmas, is the same kind of commitment. And I think your partners, your bandmates, were lucky to have you, just like I'm sure you're going to tell me you're lucky to have them, and the way that they, play their role.
Very much. It's the formula for success is really the same. I think is like, to your point, just that tenacious drive for the success of it, and really manifesting it. But then also having that great vision and product as well, and that's where, like, kudos to our singer and principal songwriter, Mark. His role is to point in a direction and go, like, we're going to do this. And, our job's to figure that out a lot of times. And it's, been a healthy, rewarding, and really, one of the great relationships, my life in the band, having these guys around me. And we've even transcended that to, we've had great partners. Red Light Management is our management company. Bruce Floor and Andrew Ganger over there, awesome at what they do, and they've been with us a long time. We've been with CAA for a decade plus. We're beyond honored to be one of the founding partners of the Oceans Calling Music Festival in Maryland, Ocean City, Maryland. Our partner and operator, Tim Sweetwood, over there. And that's, talk about, having great partners. That guy's incredible at what he does, him and his team. Tim booked us at the University of Miami in 2000, I think, when he was in college, booking, all kinds of events and things as a college student, and went out and had an incredible success in his own right in the concert and promotion festival business. And we met back years later and executed on the Ocean's Calling concept in Ocean City, and it's been incredible. There's 50,000 people show up a day. The amount of people, the names that we get to choose from and work with to book the lineup is just incredible. So, in none of that's possible without great partnerships. That's for sure.
Yeah. That's it has to have been so cool to have lived through this long career, because even, let's call it recently, these music festivals, and it's not exactly recently, but let's call it over this last decade, especially. Music festivals have been around for a long time, obviously, but it's a piece of, I think, American culture today in a way that is increasingly important, both to the music industry and to just culture. People save all year to go to their festival of choice, or festivals of choice, and you guys have been a part of that entire advent. Like, what have you observed, as you've watched the whole thing change beneath your feet, and you lived through the days of trying to get a band off the ground, and then trying to manage its success, having some top of the chart hits and things that really propelled you along the way. What have you observed, and where's the industry at today? Where do you think it's going?
I just love, I really appreciate the perspective that I have, in the sense that for the past, really 28 years now, I've gone to every mid and major cap city probably at least once a year, and seen the landscape of really the country change in a lot of different ways, and seeing, like the Austins, the Nashvilles, the Portlands, Seattles, the Charlottes, the Atlanta, like all these places turn into these big metropolitan areas that they are now. Things, it's been a pretty wild ride. Denver as well, and all these things. As far as the business itself, I think on all facets, parts of it are wildly more valuable than ever before, and some of it will just be wildly irrelevant coming up as well.
Give me a couple of examples. What's extremely more,
way more valuable? If you're great at live events, you got into it a bit, the live communal spirit of humanity in community. I think technology will push us to silo ourselves and be more individuals, and probably break from that one-to-one in-person connectivity. And then, like, as your point, like live concerts, live sports are really some of the only ways that we're able to enjoy that together as a community. So those moments, I think, will become more valuable. If you own and control intellectual property, I think that will be wildly more valuable in the future as it is today, mainly because people won't be doing it anymore. We're the last, where it's already over, of the truly analog and true original thought is now gone, with the help of
everything's a remix of something else.
Not only that, but just the infusion of AI and technology assisted creation of music.
which is by definition a remix of something else.
No, I don't think so. I mean, everything. We're all, we all imbibe all these different things in our lives, both music and otherwise, and spit something else out. And some of it sounds like other things people have done, and some of it sounds a bit more original. But everybody does. It's all, I think, achieved the same way in that regard. I guess it's more of before someone may be walking down the street whistling a tune and going like, I just came up with a song. Well, my guess is now is, they'll be typing in some prompts and we'll be spitting something out. And it may help us create what we hear in our head. It might not be completely something synthetic, but
yeah,
it's a crutch, it's an assist. And I think it'll be so easy for folks who control distribution channels to take on a bit more of the content creation with machines, that the ability or the opportunity for individuals to create music at a high level, create content at a high level, those opportunities just won't be there.
Wow.
Yeah, long story short. So yeah, if you own your music and you own your publishing, it's a good, healthy thing. And if you're good at, live performance, that's also a pretty darn good thing. I also, but I don't know, I even think 10 years from now, there won't even be any more pop stars or pop songs. I think we'll just have our own bespoke, hit songs all to ourselves.
You think so?
I think it's totally possible. I think it's, you can have a repository of music that you dig, that maybe you like, or playlist, and then that'll algorithmically spit you out some stuff that you dig. So,
wow, that's a crazy. My pushback on that is I think you're right. Like, I can totally imagine what you just described. I think it makes sense to me as an early student of AI. But I look at, like, for instance, last night, my wife shared with me a meme. I mean, we're always doing this, on Instagram or whatever. And I think that there's something inherent in humans, as we see from that kind of behavior, that we want others to like what we like. Right. We want, and so I think that while I think you're right, at the same time, I think that the things that we like will be pushed to others and create still some kind of hit, whatever that is, that appeals to many.
I'm sure that will, everything in between.
Yeah. So it'll be like a craft brewery existing with Coors Light side by side. Sure enough, they're still selling Coors Light.
Yeah. I think it's, when it comes to content, I think we'll all get a pretty bespoke experience.
Yeah.
And it'll be created by robots and not human beings.
Well, and you guys can live that decade of OAR too. Yeah, I think
we are. And I mean, I'm grateful and also confident that, if you need OAR, there's really only one place to go. So I feel pretty good about that. And I, for a couple of reasons, feel really good about I know our offense. I know, confident in our offense. I'm confident the people that we have and our ability to operate and run it. What I really love to see too at the shows is there's really three behaviors that need to happen at an OAR show for a venue to be right for OAR. And I love the size venues that we play, because we're mostly a boutique amphitheater band. We play some larger amphitheaters, and we'll play some more theaters and smaller shows as well, but it's mostly boutiques. And the reason why I like that is, if you go into large sheds or you're an arena band, those are built for that experience to be pretty similar day over day over day, so that when these tours go from show to show, they can put up a relatively similar product every night and be able to count out that, this arena is pretty similar to this arena, is pretty similar to this one, et cetera, et cetera. Boutique amphitheaters, it's totally different, where
Yeah.
they're more throttled in experience and aesthetic, and the venues are way more throttled on those types of things. So every day's, a new bag of tricks really for us when we come into a lot of these venues and things, because the rigging's different, the stages are different sizes, some of them are seated, some of them aren't, all these different things. But so we have to be really thoughtful about our venue choices. So three things really need to be true. One, it needs to be a place that's worthy of date night. So our audience, it's generally from 35 to 45. That's pretty much the meat and potatoes of who goes to see OAR shows. Obviously, there's a lot of people on the wings of that as well, but all of those people have mortgages and 401ks and responsibilities. So it needs to be worth the experience in the venue needs to be worthy of a date night. So to spend the money to get the babysitter and all of those things, but then also be worthy to the time to take that time off the schedule to go see OAR. So that needs to happen. The second thing is it needs to be a place where you can take the family. It's a fun, safe environment where if you want to bring the kids, you can make it a family affair. And there's an opportunity and there's value and a price point there for you in which you can do that. And then the third thing is that you're leaving the entire family at home and it's boys' night and you're out on the lawn crushing Coors Lights. So, and all three of those things happen at an OAR show, and we're grateful for that someone can bring their family and we can see I call them the farm team, like the next generation of OAR fans making core memories at an OAR show with their parents and the kids and things. And I see the date nights, and I'm grateful for that because my wife and I work a whole heck of a lot, and we know how few and far between those are. And I also know that you need to blow some steam off every once in a while and kind of, go hang with your boys or the ladies and have a great time. So we create that environment and that experience, and we work real hard and take a lot of pride in it.
Well, this is what's cool for anyone listening is as I hear you articulate this, and I appreciate you going into so much depth. I know it's perhaps not your typical interview. I don't know, but it's illustrative of you not only knowing your business well, knowing your brand well, all things that I have to do in my business, all things that anyone listening has to do in their business, whatever that is. And this is just another business, but it's a unique one. It's one that, a lot of people are aware of because we all go to concerts or we all listen to music, right? So we're like aware of it. It's not mysterious to me. It's not like I don't know, a place that they make bread. I'm not familiar with industrial bakeries, right? But so it's interesting to listen to you break it down. At the same time, I think I'm sure as I listen to you, your partners are glad to have you because you are obviously putting a lot of time and energy and thought and work into being thoughtful about these things so that perhaps Mark gets to be a little more freed up to be creative in the way he needs to be creative to keep the music alive or whatever it is his role is. So in the spirit of everybody needs a partner, I'm curious, having lived for 3 decades at least in a band partnership. Can you think of a time when the future of your business, as it were, your band was threatened by someone not pulling their weight, disagreement, conflict? I mean, we all face this, I think, in real life. In our business, is there any wisdom you can share about a time like that or the outcome or how you navigated through a period that might have been, threatening to the viability of?
Yeah. I mean, it really happens. Not that like we come into conflict all the time, but there's opportunity for those moments all the time. We all live in different cities. We all have, families of our own that are aligned, but then also at times, diverge in need and in want. And again, like as in a marriage, like do our absolute very best to just navigate through it with respect and dignity, and try to find those common threads that get us through it. And I mean, there's been a lot of times that we should have been wiped off the map
Hmm.
Throughout our career, but are still here because we've worked well together as a group and worked together to make it happen. I mean, even COVID, my God, you know what I mean? Like, first to stop, last to go back to work type of field in what we did. We were like, well,
Yeah.
that was cool. Worked real hard for that thing. No more rock and roll. All right, navigate that. So in that, I'm sure everyone has some parallels there with that. The format of how people imbibe music has changed 4 or 5 times in the time we've been in the music business. We started selling cassettes out of a Honda Civic, then went to CDs, and then everybody stole our music at the time on streaming on Napster. At the time, at our probably some of our most hottest kind of moments in trajectory, when we were exiting college and going out on our own. And then we were still making CDs, but you had to buy music on iTunes. And then and then they wanted you folks to buy tunes on iTunes, but everybody was streaming it on Spotify's and Amazon's and Apple Music's and things. And they still want us to, and even today, they still want us to make CDs. The distributors and stuff, they're like, let's make CDs. I'm like, who's buying a CD today that you want to make CDs for? They're like, well, there's a demand for it. I'm like, there's not. And if it is, it's for you to charge me to make CDs. I think that's our demand.
Wow.
But sorry for the tangent there. But to the point of the business has evolved so many different times. There's been societal moments and everything in life moments that could have derailed it and could have over the years. But we stayed together, stayed focused, and stayed focused on each other. I think that's really got us through it.
What's interesting is that each one of these, I'll call it macro events that affect your industry, your business, your band, as it were, provide those opportunities for you all as partners to have conflict, to disagree, to be stressed out. And as you described, it has required a maintenance of respect and dignity in order to prevent those conflicts, those inevitable conflicts, from unraveling, the partnership. So I can't help but come to the conclusion that, as with any partnership, we're really just relying on our own discipline, our own self-control, our own self-management, our own ego management, and that of our partners, in order to not self-destruct. Is that fair to say? Or is there something further than that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I think also just like the collective goal and just the alignment. We are equally aligned in need and success, I guess, in that regard. We need each other.
That's a big one.
And a lot of times, yeah, I think for me, I've worked and put a lot of time in working on who I am, how I communicate, and how I imbibe communication. A lot of times people in our lives react. I was on a call yesterday, pretty heavy rock and roll call, and a lot of back and forth. And there's a lot of times where I could have taken some stuff personally, but it wasn't. I was just on the receiving end of it. It wasn't having anything to do personal. What I needed to do was listen to what was being said and interpret what was really being communicated instead of rather what was being said.
Yeah.
And I think that's a pretty healthy tool.
I think that's huge.
Yeah.
In fact, I was going to ask you, can you think of a time when you had to totally eat it? Totally, um, even though you may have still to this day believed that you were right or your way was superior, but you chose to, accept a different way, a different path, or a different, I don't know, critique in order to allow the partnership to survive. Can you think of anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, yeah, I mean, without going into too much detail, I mean, we always like within the music business and the machine of the music business is like you always teeter on the two ends of like total apathy and exploitation. You know what I mean?
Explain what you mean by that so we can all understand.
Sure. So one of the reasons why I think OAR still is OAR is that I think we're a pretty good bet. The bar's always made money at an OAR show. I think we are good partners and we put pennies in the jar. We make money for the music business and our partners. But that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of maintenance, it takes a lot of creativity. It takes a lot of just, poking the zeitgeist and product and our audience and everything in between every day. So apathy could kill an artist pretty quick if a team just either rests on laurels or is just working on other things. One of my jobs is to be a good partner to the folks who work with us so that out of the giant stack of papers that they have on their desk every day, they put ours at the top. And so without that, and with their apathy, we go downhill pretty quick. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side of that coin is it's pretty easy as things are heating up and going pretty quick to just, get a lot of yeses and squeeze every last drop of opportunity out of something and not have a lot of thought and care about the human element of that.
Yeah.
And I think that happens a lot in our businesses. People just get chewed up because they're not physically or emotionally in a good spot, but they're lucrative.
And the music business doesn't always lend itself to the healthiest lifestyles mentally or physically. So, there's that. Interesting.
Yeah. So,
look, I just think it's worth calling out because I think it's easy for someone in any business, like mine right now, like the furniture business and the home category is going on its fourth year of a terrible economy, like basically a recession for this category because COVID was so awesome. Opposite of you, there was so much business where everyone's stuck at home buying couches. The growth was through the roof for me and lots of different companies making home stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And free money from the government flying around, whatever. The 4 years since is like a giant hangover. It's like a giant tide going out. And at some point, obviously the tide has to come back in, but we have to manage through that. And my point for anyone listening is whatever business you're in, you're somewhere in a tide. You might be at slack tide, everything's chill. You might be tide going out. You might be tide coming in, but at any of those changes, it feels like you have these unique challenges where it's stressful. It's stressful for too much business, stressful for not enough, but it's stressful because your partner's falling apart and you have to, take the high road and you think that your experience is unique, but it's not. And you're such a good example of this because you're in an industry that so few people get a piece of, but we're all aware of. And I don't think it's any different than the couch business in many respects. And I say that with a lot of humility. Like I don't get to be a rock star. I don't get to be on stage. I wish I was. But at the same time, the dynamics and it comes back to these first principles that I'm always harping on this show. Self-awareness, discipline, self-management, and the basic human principles that define a good leader and a good partner. And we all need partners, and you're in a unique version of that. So I appreciate you sharing. So what, as we wrap, what advice do you have? Someone starting out in your industry or any other, take your pick, but in the spirit of let me save you 25 years, if you could go back and now that you know what you know, give yourself a piece of advice that might save you a chunk off of some of the heartache, pain, and journey that you've gotten to experience. What might that be?
I mean, what I would tell myself, a 25-year younger version of myself, is what you think is the right thing is the right thing. The self-doubt that I had so many times in my life of like, is this the path? Not is this the path? If you were to talk to me at 5, you were like, what do you want to be when you grow up, Jerry? I want to be in a band. And you like pat me on the head and move me along. And then at 15, if you asked me that question, I told you the same thing. And I was wearing a flannel shirt and had, Pearl Jam shirt or a Nirvana shirt underneath it. My hair was weird. They'd pat me on the head and move on that. And then at 25, I did it. And, I had my own family at that point. So I guess what I would tell myself is ignore the imposter syndrome feelings and trust the instincts that I have inside, because those are the ones that those are the same principles that carry me forward today. I think I'm confident I would have been successful at anything I would have put this much time, effort, and tenacity towards. I'm grateful it was the music business and I was able to achieve my dream. It literally was my lifelong dream. And same thing with my boys in the band. We're in the making dreams come true business, and we're grateful for that. But honestly, if there was somebody chasing the music business, what I would tell them, and this is the honest truth, is to not do it and run the opposite direction. Very, very fast.
Like me, don't make couches, man. It's nothing but heartache and pain.
But if you hear that advice from me to not do it, and your immediate thought is F that guy, then you might be right for the music business. And this might be
right.
So, because there's gonna be a lot of that in that path, I would imagine.
Well said. Well, look, be sure to check out everything that Jerry is up to by following him on Twitter and Instagram at Jerry, Jerry DePizzo, DePizzo. And OAR is kicking off their 3 Decades tour on June 19th in Vail, Colorado. They're touring all over the nation this summer, all through November. Don't miss out. Grab tickets when you're in town. I will be aiming to be at Red Rocks if you're passing through there, wherever. I'll track you down, Jerry, and reach out. Thank you so much to the band playing businessman, the producer with poise, the multi-instrument maestro of OAR, Jerry DePizzo.
Thank you, Shawn. Appreciate it very much. Thanks for having me.
Heck yeah. And for anyone listening, remember this: trying to go it alone costs time, energy, and a lot of missed opportunities. I know solo entrepreneurs who are truly solo, and it's a lonely place. Find your partner, lean in, make something worthy of a date night. Whether it's on stage, at work, or in life, it just might save you a chunk off your own 25-year journey.
Once a year to take my friends away should not be the budget for your bike across America.
TikTok has become an aggregator for some of the dumbest human actions.
When I won that million, I was $2 million in debt, barely hanging on.